Hi, I'm Shelby Williams with Plano City Council. In tonight's City Council recap, in our preliminary open meeting, we started with a engineering department report. We reviewed the compliance division, whose responsibilities include ADA compliance, special projects, and inspecting things, making sure they're up to code. And we had a transportation engineering division, not department, transportation engineering division update as well. Heard some things I know you're going to be stunned by. So the signalized intersections doubled in the past 20 years to the total of 280 signalized, that's have a traffic light, intersections in the city. Now, I was floored when I learned that traffic has doubled in the past 20 years. I know, I hope you're sitting down too, because anybody who's lived here the past 20 years, like I have, I know this comes as a complete and total shock. Sense the sarcasm. So we've discussed some of the things that we're doing, of course, to alleviate our traffic woes. One of the things that I did learn, which I did not know, was an actual number to our pass-through traffic. 21% of the traffic in Plano is for people who are coming in one side and going straight out the other. Now, surprisingly, that's not all north to south, directly like along Preston or Custer. Or even the tollway. There's a lot of pass-through traffic which comes from the east and heads to the west, much like the sun. The sun doesn't actually pass directly through Plano, though. There's coming in from the north and heading out west. There's going in all directions. But anyway, the bottom line is 21% of our traffic is pass-through traffic. That's a fair bit. So we are expanding closed-circuit television from 40 intersections to over 200 to have a better understanding of what's happening at our at more key intersections. Pardon me. My throat clearing has been twice as bad since I had COVID, and tonight's it's as worse. It's as bad as I can remember it, so please bear with me. We are going through a signal detection system upgrade, and we have a new traffic monitoring center that should be online relatively soon. So we moved from that into the regular meeting. There were a couple of items on the agenda today that Councilman Riccadelli and I had put there, but we decided to table those until the next meeting so that we could have more time for a more robust discussion. In the regular meeting today, there were two proclamations. May is Building Safety Month, and May is also National Historic Preservation Month. So I asked if there were going to be parades for those. Apparently not, but if there were, maybe they could be competing parades. I'm always looking for that proclamation dance-off. And then we had a nomination to make to the Central Appraisal District Board of Directors. The Collin County Central Appraisal District Board of Directors nominated Bill Lyle. The way this is going to work, it's an interim appointment. So in the normal process, every taxing authority, not just cities, but taxing authority, think the county, think school boards, everybody gets to make a nomination, and they get a number of votes based on their the amount of tax dollars they command. So the school districts get a much larger vote. But everybody puts forth their nominees under normal circumstances, and then out of that pool of nominees, all of the taxing authorities in the county get a vote, or they can apportion their votes amongst multiple members. Pardon me. But in the case of an interim appointment, somebody's stepping down, and so we have an interim appointment to make. The people who voted for the person who's stepping down, if I'm getting this process right, get to submit new nominees for consideration, and then the CAD board themselves choose the interim member based on the names that are put into the hat. So they don't get to they don't get to put their own names into the hat, whomever they want, but they do get to pick themselves, the CAD board, from the names that are put into the hat by the people who voted for the original person. So the city of Plano nominated Bill Lyle. And then we moved into a discussion, geez, please pardon me. We moved into a discussion of amending the 2021-22 action plan this is what's required to get HUD money. So this is federal money that's taken out of your pockets, goes to the federal government, and then comes back to the city of Plano through the HUD program. And there are certain restrictions on how we spend that. Now, there was a considerable amount of confusion, and I finally understood what we were voting on. So the issue is that in our action plan, it has an outdated value for the median home price in Plano. So for the use of HUD money, we are limited to homes, in using this money for our program, we're limited to homes that are 95% of the area median sale value of homes. So the old number was 285,000. And this, of course, is outdated because if you've lived long enough here to experience some of the traffic woes, then you have also lived long enough here to see the housing values go really berserk. So several of us at first thought that we were considering a resolution to set a new limit, and that's not what we were doing at all. And there were a lot of questions about why are we, and the new limit was, by the way, $418,000 as 95% of the median area home price, or home sales price. And a lot of us were saying, why are we raising it that high? Why can't we raise it lower? And the reason is because we weren't actually determining the ceiling. We were simply updating our action plan, which is just a document that we have to provide to HUD in order to be eligible for these funds. We're just updating the document to reflect what 95% of the median area home price is based on the past 3 months data. Those past 3 months, by the way, are not representative of reality. So expect this to change again in the future. But in any case, that's what we were doing, but it called into question other considerations, such as there are specific uses to which we can put these funds, one of which is the first-time home buyer program. And you have to meet certain criteria. You have to not have an income that's above a certain amount. And of course, you have to be a first-time home buyer and a couple other things. And the question that came up, that Councilwoman Homer brought up, rightly so, is if we're providing money to people to make a down payment on the home, by the way, up to $55,000 to a first-time home buyer under this program, then we're artificially increasing the competition and the money to bear in the housing that's brought to bear in the housing market, and we're muscling out people who have worked diligently and saved their money. And what it comes down to is there are the income limit peak ceiling is based on the number of people in your household. So that limit, if I recall correctly, the income limit for a family of 4 is Shelby talks, take 2, $77,800. So you could have 2 identical families, and Deputy Mayor Pro Tem 2 started to go through this scenario. You've got a family who is a four-person household. One parent is working, the other is sick, unable to, 2 kids. Okay, but you could have, and she started to cast the other family with a whole different situation, but you could actually have 2 identical families, same scenario. One family has a household income of $77,000 a year. The other family has a household income of $78,000 a year and is therefore ineligible. But they've worked diligently to save their money to make a down payment on a first-time home. And the family that makes $77,000 a year and is eligible would receive up to $55,000 of taxpayer money to make that down payment on the house. And it seems incredibly inequitable. So I have said this on the dais before, that I think it's a better use of the HUD funds to pursue homelessness prevention and financial counseling, because an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. But I think something that might also be viable, if it's legal within federal law, is to explore using a portion of that money for critical rehabilitation of a home. I'm thinking of serious pipes damage like we had in Snowmageddon last year in the freeze, or critical or catastrophic foundation work, things for people that where insurance isn't going to cover it or cover enough of it. And this should be means tested. These are people who desperately need the help, and they can't just have a neighbor, a kindly neighbor, come by and trim some branches, for instance, or mow their lawn. They need real major work done. So if we're going to use these HUD funds at all, and this is also a classic problem between local and federal government, or state and federal government, is we are in effect going to the federal government begging for money, which was our people's money to begin with. So that federal money is coming out of your pockets regardless, whether or not it comes back into our community. And so we're put in this awkward situation of like somebody like myself who doesn't think that that kind of taxpayer money should be used in a program like the first-time homebuyer program. So we can just not accept it at all, and the money's going to be taken anyway and leave our community entirely, or it can at least come back into our community. And that's a real conundrum for me. But if we are going to have that money coming back into our community, I think those are the best uses for it. But in any case, those topics are going to be coming up in a future council meeting. And now I got to go get a cough drop or something to ease my throat. I'm Shelby Williams with Plano City Council. Thank you and God bless.